Hello, everybody, and welcome to, you'll probably agree, we're finally talking about the Oscars 2018. Well, I guess I didn't tell anybody the name of the show. Yeah, that's the news.
No,
This is a professional operation.
Sounds better when I say it.
Yeah. Anyways, I have Ian Simmons from Kicking the Seat podcast and Patrick McDonald from Hollywood, Chicago.
Yeah. Woo.
So I guess I'll just start with Pat first, and we can go to Ian and then me.
Probably for the best.
Yeah. We're just going to limit this kind of to like the Best Picture nominees and just our sort of general thoughts on them. I guess like who we're rooting for or whatever. I don't know. I'll get more drinks deep in, and then I'll really be able to talk about it. But the first film on our list is The Shape of Water.
Oh, very good.
So, Pat, what did you think of Shape of Water?
The Shape of Water was my #1 film in my top 10 list. To me, it took all of its themes to the highest level. Whether you want to call it a Cold War thriller, whether you wanted to call it a love story, whether you wanted to call it a metaphor for the time of 1962 in the way it treated African Americans, gay people, et cetera, et cetera. I just was enthralled by this film, and it was a movie about movies. The main character lives above a cinema. They are immersed in watching old movies on TV. It really affected me on a very visceral level. So,
excellent. What do you think?
It affected me on a visceral level too. I didn't like The Shape of Water.
Oh
no, I'm in the very small minority on this film, which is no surprise. Yeah, I mean like I'm a big Del Toro mark, so this one kind of hurt. To me, it felt like, just from a story perspective, he was kind of going over a bunch of themes that he's already tackled before. It's a great first Del Toro film. Like, if you've never heard of this guy, which I think is wonderful that it's getting all this Oscar exposure, but if you're going back deep into the catalog, it might seem kind of retreadish. As far as the social themes, I agree that he kind of touches on a lot. I don't think he tackles much, and what he does tackle, I think he kind of handles ham-handedly.
well.
I would love to hear your rebuttal to this, but
Well, I mean, when I say themes, I wasn't trying to say that's the gist of the movie.
Sure.
I think that people who live today would be very interested to know that, a closeted gay man and African Americans and just workers in general were treated with such disdain in a time, that wasn't too far, 50 years ago, a half century.
Oh,
So-
Richard Jenkins was gay in it?
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
George Papad is gay?
Yeah, because like I
Seinfeld reference.
just remember I was watching it and I'm like, man, this guy is so badly friend zoned. Like, like how badly friend zoned you have to be, like where like the girl you like and you live with is banging a fish.
Well,
Like
remember when he tries to pick up the guy in the diner?
I haven't seen it since October.
Well, honestly, that's kind of where, when I say it's ham-handed, I almost wish he'd either gone for a complete social allegory or just left it out.
Yeah.
Wow,
Because
interesting.
in that same scene in the diner where he makes a pass at the guy that he believes is perhaps interested in him, even though he's been going to that diner long enough to have a fridge full of key lime pies, he's never picked up on any signals, and he's never seen this person mistreat people of color. So within a minute of him getting turned down and realizing the guy's a raging homophobe, he also turns away a black couple.
That's a thematic, though.
Yeah, and it's also, clumsy. I'm
so
sorry.
you're-
I'm
so-
watching it. I'm like, I can't see you anymore, Guillermo, because you're so high on your soapbox. I need binoculars.
Right. I mean, so
Ouch.
I mean, I could kind of see that point, because it would have been more of an interesting story if it touched on those things, because it kind of was like a usual. I thought it was a return to form for Guillermo del Toro, especially since like Pacific Rim,
Well, I mean, that was more of a,
That was him sort of like caving in on doing a blockbuster when he sort of like tries to avoid doing those things. Because like he'll do a lot of these films that are very familiar, as you say. Like it was sort of a return to form for like Pan's Labyrinth, The Devil's Backbone.
Identical ending to Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a movie.
Spoilers.
It's a movie where our protagonist, basically, it plays with fantasy and reality, although everything is
sad,
reality here.
It's okay, man. It's okay. You can still have the movie. Lots of people love this thing. I'm watching it with a certain set of expectations.
No.
I actually thought it was. I didn't love it. I thought it was very good. I thought it was deserving of Best Picture, certainly on a technical level.
Sure.
Certainly it was lyrically there, but yeah, it was sort of Guillermo del Toro, sort of playing the best of Guillermo del Toro,
right.
where he, these are the familiar beats and themes that we usually know, where somebody's impoverished and they're being beaten down by a larger system. They find sort of escape within their own from fantasy, which is sort of like freedom for them.
Mm-hmm.
They have, that was pretty much it. The maid of the film, the main character, Sally Hawkins' character, she sort of was the little girl from Pan's Labyrinth, as an adult if she was a janitor.
Gosh, it's been so long since I saw Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
And you guys will not be sitting with him at the after party, apparently. I will be right next to
I
you.
thought it was a very good film still. I liked it a lot. And he was an amazing guy at Eberfest, too. So,
it hurts because I love Del Toro. I met him once.
Yes.
Years and years ago. Couldn't have been a nicer guy, and he was already pretty
he
big
was
at that
very
point, just
nice.
talking, like a regular dude. The one thing that I will take away from this movie, aside from that beautiful cinema, downstairs with the fish man, Doug Jones and his makeup, is the scene that continues Del Toro's trend of facial body horror. I don't know if you want to talk climax, right? Spoilers.
Oh, the climax happens like within 5 minutes of the film. But yeah.
Look, I'm not talking about the bathtub. I'm talking about there's a scene where a character has a hole ripped in his face, and that's kind of par for the course. But Del Toro, I think, takes that to a new level with what happens with this person getting a hole ripped in their face.
I think the difference between both of yours analysis and mine is I guess I looked at it as a separate film. I didn't expand upon Del Toro's filmography and compared it to anything. I saw it as something separate, and so
that's fair.
Yeah, and definitely as a separate film, like I just had the same feeling. Like I felt like I wanted more of it, especially at the end, because it felt like it just ended and they rushed in the narration that connected to the beginning, and then they're like, okay, we gotta speed it up, and I'm like, well, wait. What happened to everybody else's life?
Well,
what happened with Michael Shannon? Like, come on,
he's dead.
Well, okay. Well, what happened to his company?
Let's see a story about his afterlife.
Spoiler alert: he's dead.
Yeah. That part's getting cut.
Well,
unless you watch the uncut.
Well, no, Michael Shannon's company becomes the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Development.
Yeah.
With their attempts to capture a fish man.
I just kind of wanted to see Sally Hawkins' life with the fish, like years down the line. And why did she fall in love with him?
That is the central question.
Spoiler alert, I think she was part of the fish people, because her gills become active when she goes underwater. See, she was found in a basket by the sea, very Moses-like. Oh. She's the connection between his world and our world, and it could be a amalgamation. The scratches on her throat and the fact that she can't speak.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that. It's just a bit of a stretch for me watching this fantasy film that has so much going on.
We've got 9 films.
That's true. Yeah. Let's move on.
Yeah. No. I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought, but
no, that's all right.
I do have to say though, out of the 3 of us, I think Pat knows the most. That's what he's talking about.
No, absolutely not. I know nothing. I'm a fish on the sand.
I didn't even notice that she was. I thought the fish, like when she gets the gills at the end, was just supposed to be like symbolic.
Oh. Well, again, I think this is beautiful because we all 3 have a different interpretation, and I think we like it on the level of which we filter our experiences. So I don't. And I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, that's cool. That's the spirit of movies.
We all
bring our own stuff to it,
and
it combines with what the filmmaker has.
This is what you do in your podcast, and this is what we do on a daily basis. Okay. Yeah. Next.
Oh, I just fair point. But yeah, man, that is really loud.
Well, it is a construction zone. I think we're on mic. It'll just be ambient.
Yeah.
How's the sound in your ears?
It's good enough.
All right, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
You know, you can't.
A lot going on today. The
there we go.
bobbles,
Thank God.
All right,
Well, that's all right. That's yeah. So, anyways,
what's next?
what did so now that we're talking about sort of the, I'm just gonna switch cut to like the most popular films.
Okay.
One movie I think I didn't know if it was gonna get nominated or not, but everybody was rooting for it to get nominated. I don't know if it was deserving of it. Was Get Out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll start with we'll start with Ian first. This
I
time.
don't know if you want to do that.
Okay. We'll start with Pat first.
Let's clear the table. I think there's maybe 2 movies out of the nominees that I actually care about and possibly like. So just to kind of set that table. But okay, Get Out, sure. I think I'm a fan of Jordan Peele, going way back. I was very excited to see this movie and profoundly disappointed coming out of it. Especially when I found out that the original ending that he had filmed was scrapped in favor of, again, we're talking spoilers, I guess, in fact, is something that, in place of something that was a bit more Hollywood. I feel like the social allegory that everyone is ascribing to this film and its importance, it's kind of kneacapped by Peele and doesn't go far enough.
Told you.
Yeah.
There you go. Why? No, I think I think it's an all right film. It's a pretty lousy horror movie, and as far as a social allegory, I love the fact that so many people went to see it because that means that there's perhaps studios more willing to take chances on mainstream stories of this nature. I just don't think this is the film. I think this is the template. And years from now, perhaps even Jordan Peele is going to improve on it and make something really remarkable.
Right.
This is beautiful surprise. Again, this is in my top 5.
I get it. I am. There is a reason I am the last guy anyone asks. Pat.
No. I love it. Again, it was something that really affected me when I saw it initially. It played on the emotions to me of my lifetime of observing racist America, or the again, it's being an older person, I have seen a lot of changes in attitudes in race and feminism and all that stuff. Yeah. And to see somebody of Jordan Peele's age commenting upon that in the way he did, in the allegory that he made, was stunning to me.
Right.
And it can really affect the people who would go, okay, I'm going to the movies. Hey, I love Key and Peele. Let's go see Get Out.
Yeah,
and then they're sitting there and they're going, well, I'm thinking about some of my attitudes.
Yeah.
As you and again, and the 50th anniversary of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, to do the exact same plot
with that sinister twist to it.
With the sinister twist, it was just sheer genius to me. So.
Right. It was funny. I remember I was at a film event, and I was talking to this guy who runs an arts program for like the inner city and stuff like that, and he was telling me that it felt like a movie, like where Moonlight felt like a movie that was written by a black guy to write a movie for white people so he can win an Oscar about a film about homosexuality and race relations.
We could talk about that too. But go ahead.
He said that that Get Out was pretty much like spot on with race relations, and I thought that was an interesting. I remember when I first saw it, I just thought, like, again, I saw it under the guise of where there was a lot of hype around it and a lot of word of mouth. So by the time I saw it, I just thought, well, it was okay. It wasn't great. But then the more I talked about it with a friend of mine, I went, oh, yeah, it was really interesting how it made a point there and then how it made a point there. And it kind of just showed just like how awkward white people are.
Because there's no such thing as an awkward black person. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, it checks so many boxes.
Interesting.
Yeah, it stayed as like, I wish it stayed as a psychological thriller instead of ending in the third act like a slasher. Because
I guess I wasn't even considering that, because I was again going with the flow of the film, and I see when you say, we can study this and say, oh, well, there was an alternate ending that was changed by the studio. But to me, that again broke the back of what the movie, just to have some humor, you know, after we had experienced this for like 90 minutes, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what you want out of a film. I feel like I've seen Get Out 100 times as a horror movie.
Right.
I feel like if you're gonna go for something and try and make a political statement, then you inherently have to make people uncomfortable. People should not have been leaving Get Out praising it for being so like you know, progressive and edgy. I think they should have been lamenting the fact that they'd just been horrified and taking away from it that it was progressive and edgy. It's too feel good for my taste. Yeah,
I mean, it's funny. One thing I got to give the film credit for is everybody tries to nail what category it is. And one thing that sort of annoys me with a lot of movies is people try to arbitrarily place films within a category, you know, like that's something that Christopher Nolan complains a lot about, you know, like, oh, is your film horror? Is it a comedy? You know, is it a thriller? And, you know, this film, like, how can you explain it? It's a psychological horror mixed with comedic elements that ends as a slasher film. You know?
I really don't think there's any category to it. I mean, even to call it a horror film is to kind of dismiss it on a
B-grade side.
Right.
But really, it's not that kind of movie, and it does feel a little shallow, especially towards the third act, where it's like it feels like there's a lot of joke sort of kills at the end of the movie, where you know you got our main character running around with like deer antlers, like stabbing other people.
I would say too that you know, Little Howery, the comedian from Chicago who plays a TSA agent.
Yeah.
When you say, you know, when you say that ending was changed and everything, he seems to be he seems to be a character that was rewritten as the movie went on, as the production went on. It's like, well, we can put a little Howery scene right here and maybe juice it up a bit or something. But I'm just thinking of that as you say this at this moment. I didn't think about that when I saw the film.
Yeah, I mean, and he was fine. Like, my struggle with Get Out is I think the directing is, you know, fine. I like the story idea. I think the performances are great. It's just where it ends up, and I think honestly it's a case of the atmosphere around the film kind of coloring my perception of it, and I'm just really annoyed. No, nice. So yeah, I'm waiting for not Get Out 2, but for his next
Get Out again.
Get out of jail.
Get out. Well, if you want to go back to that original ending. Yeah.
Now here's all right. So here's what I thought. If they did go with that original ending, like here's the thing: the movie does like play itself seriously as well as comedically. I mean, here's the thing: I think they could have like cut the whole TSA character, because when you do that, then you see like the shades of Key and Peele in it, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's like, you know, that's Jordan Peele, right?
Yeah.
All right, got it right. And you know, you can see that's him doing it, where the dude's going like sex slaves, yeah. But like, if you had just like that hard hitting ending where he's like I feel like I'm watching the ending to what's the movie where Denzel Washington's a pilot and he's a drunk.
Flight.
Yeah. I feel like the ending of Flight again, where they're like in prison, it's like life has changed for me. It's like, where did this come from? Like, so I don't think that would have worked. It would have been too left field stylistically for the rest of the film.
I will say one last thing. I am glad that Jordan Peele now has a platform in which to make movies. Universal just gave him a huge deal.
Yeah.
He's going to be, if this one is a noble failure in anybody's point of view, the next one will be a noble success.
Yeah.
Although I feel that this one's a noble success too.
Yeah, that's fine. I like that phrase, noble success.
Let's go to Lady Bird.
Here we go again.
No. That's one of my two big ones. I'm a fan of Lady Bird.
I really felt like Lady Bird was a movie that really grew on me.
Oh,
you
good.
know. When I first saw it, and it grew on me literally as the movie was playing, which
Sure.
was the beauty of it.
That is the beauty of it.
Yeah, because like when it starts out, I'm just going, "What's the big deal? This is just another coming of age film. It's playing all the scenes that we know. You know, girl finds guy. You know, you have the mother who's kind of oppressive, which it was interesting how they reversed the roles, where instead of the father being sort of the one who's overbearing, it was the mother, but still she's loving." And then, well, I'll get into the ending later. That really relates to that. And then how the father was really kind of the one who was so loving. It was almost like he was a pushover. But as the movie
They
was...
did show him as that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But in the most loving way possible, you know, which is great. But as the movie progressed, we first see the scenes, you know, kind of playing at a normal pace, right? But then, as we know, as we get older and life progresses and it gets faster, the pacing of all these scenes that we know keep going faster and faster and faster and faster, because that's how life is. It goes before us, like, just in an instant. So then the most wonderful part of that film is I'm like, oh, wow, now all of a sudden this isn't just like another Richard Linklater film or another sort of mumblecore film. This is something different. This is something that really echoes what this is what Boyhood should have been. You know,
oh gosh,
which Boyhood was so vastly overrated. But
We're gonna fight now?
yeah,
Sorry.
No.
You know, I'll take
That
my
was in
shirt
my
off.
top 10 that year too.
They're like, who wants to fucking go? All right.
So here's what I'll say about it. And again, you know, being a little of experience and age, I'm relating to the mother and father character very, very distinctly. But I'm also relating to Saoirse Ronan's character as Lady Bird, because everybody. Saoirse, thank you.
Who knows? Saoirse has psoriasis. Who knows? Yeah.
Everybody has gone through their senior year of high school, you know, and everybody remembers what you were feeling in that transition, because you're right, it's rapid. It's just woo! It starts to like go in like a lightning pace by the time you get past the Christmas season in your senior year. So I was really impressed how she captured that. That number one, number two. A middle-class family. How often do you see that in the movies? Paycheck to paycheck family who is struggling and seeing how are we going to get this person to college? Yeah. You know, and wow, you know, those two things were so remarkable in that film and so followed through on that I just was enamored.
Yeah, I mean, this is the movie that I wish Juno had been. It reminded me of a really good version of Juno and Saved from 2003 or 2004. Yeah. It was like the mashup of the Catholic school girl or Catholic school movie, and then the wisecracking. Wisecracking. Let me try that again.
Don't eat Chipotle.
Wisecracking high school girl with the you know, trying to figure things out with her family. You know, I was enamored with it. I watched this movie the same day that I watched Kogonada's Columbus, which because that's not even in the discussion for the Academy Awards. That's why I kind of don't care about Oscars 2018. That's just between us. But but both movies feature, you know, very strong, very heartfelt teenage, you know, just out of high school or leaving high school female performances that, you know, are so real that it kind of calls into question the rest of the Hollywood phoniness when you see movies that are aimed at teenagers.
Did you see Columbus?
No.
I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Gotta put it down in my notes here. But the one thing that I absolutely loved about this film was the ending, because it didn't. Apparently, someone's like constructing something downstairs, but
that's all right.
Yeah, but the ending was so great because it doesn't end where most coming-of-age films end. Like, usually, like, you know, go back to, like, American Graffiti or something like that. It ends where they're going to college. Here, I'm going to give it away. I don't give a shit.
Well, I mean, you know, you expect it to fade to black when she gets to her dynamic school that she always wanted. Yeah. But then...
Yeah, she gets to college, and it's not great. It's not like, oh, I'm moving on with my life. Right. Instead... college is miserable. She's no longer in her comfort zone, and then she understands who her mother is and why she loved her. And then there's just this whole element to it that really You didn't like that? That's what really won me
No, I'm
over,
saying
man.
I got
Yeah,
chills.
No,
like,
no, you
Pat was
described
like,
it perfectly.
yeah, yeah.
That
I'm
was-
not sure
that was
about the
some Spielberg
reconciliation with
shit.
Mother.
Yeah.
No. Hey, again, just like everybody goes through senior year, if you went to college, you go through freshman year.
Yeah.
And you go to a party and you get drunk and you make out with somebody you don't see after that, you
Yeah.
know? And I'm like, wow, you know, she actually, instead of, you know, just fading to black, she actually showed a little bit of life
Yeah.
that happens after you get to college.
And it's not all roses
It's not
and
all
peach
roses.
fuzz. Yeah.
You sometimes end up in the emergency room.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah, she did. Yeah.
Yeah, Lady Bird, one of the, if I had a criticism of it, it's that it's not like a Netflix series. I would love to watch
Yeah.
these characters and follow them.
Interesting, yeah.
You know, I'd watch
That's
Saoirse
good.
Ronan go to college and get out of college and do whatever.
Oh god, yeah. There'll be a sequel to that. I know people are asking for a sequel to Call Me by Your Name, which I don't know. I want some people to tell me why that movie's amazing, please. But moving on from a movie that's filled with empathy and understanding, we go to 3 billboards outside of Ebbing,
God,
Missouri.
Finally.
Yes,
Finally, I get to crap on something.
And this is great because I have not seen 3 Billboards.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So we can.
So we'll go spoiler free here. Yeah.
No,
No,
it
no.
doesn't matter.
Well,
Okay.
it doesn't. I don't think there's really much to spoil. But anyway,
Yeah.
Her daughter's dead.
I am
lot.
going. Mike. I am going to go and watch this again.
Yeah.
I have been completely bamboozled by the praise of this. I mean, it took the ensemble at the SAG Awards.
agree.
It took the Best Picture at Golden Globe for drama. This is an allegory picture, and I think everybody who knows movies or goes in or read novels can understand that this small town is representing either America or something broader. You know what I'm saying? And it just didn't work because of the small town setting for me.
Yeah.
I didn't like the symbolism of using. It smacked of a screenwriter putting a setting down and writing about nothing that he knows.
Yeah.
And that's really my main criticism of it. But I am going to watch it again because I am just strictly bamboozled by the praise.
Right.
There you go.
Ian.
I didn't see it.
Oh. I think that's the best.
No, I mean,
I'm
like,
just kidding.
well, here's the thing, and it's not fair to judge a movie by its trailer, but, you know, when the trailer came out and everyone's like, oh my God, this looks amazing, I watched the trailer, and it's just, you know, pretty much Frances McDormand swearing at a whole bunch of people. I'm like,
And that's the movie.
why am I, this does not look pleasant. Not that movies have to be pleasant, it's just
Yeah.
like,
There's
I
some
didn't.
cruelty in it that really bothers me.
Well,
and I guess you can. I want to hear your opinion.
That was my thing with the movie, is that, like, on a visceral level, like, it's satisfying to see, you know, like, there's certainly some political connotations which weren't intentional because the movie was written before last year happened, and
What happened last year?
I don't know.
We're still trying to figure it out.
And we will be for a long time,
Yes,
or a
we
short
will,
time,
sir.
who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, so like without getting into that murky water, the murky water in Ebbing, Missouri, it was a movie that was just so cruel and
Yeah.
judgmental,
Yes.
and it was a
Yes,
movie
you
that
just-
was like
You're hitting on all the keywords
Yeah.
for me too.
that was the thing, like where Lady Bird was a movie that you understood people and they're 3-dimensional. You know, this is a film that was definitely like written and directed by the guy who did Seven Psychopaths, by the guy who did In Bruges, by the guy who did Six Shooter.
Yeah.
You know, by the guy who relishes and loves violence.
Well,
you know,
he's also a Brit who is
Yeah.
talking about America, and I'm not saying that people from other lands can't do an American film. They should.
Yeah.
But his interpretation of America by saying it in a small town, that's what bothered me when I started doing the background on it. You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, well, of course the guy from In Bruges is going to make a film like this set in America.
Yeah.
Stay in Bruges.
Yeah, please do. Because, I mean, at least in Bruges, it didn't, like, judge and shit on Bruges,
Is it,
you know?
is it Bruges or Bruges?
Bruges.
Bruges, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I mispronounced
That's
it.
okay. Don't worry. I mean, yeah, I
between
I looked up
and Bruges.
I looked up Saoirse Ronan literally right before you guys came here and watched a video of her saying her own name. So that's how I
Was
know.
it the SNL bit where she did the song?
She was on SNL.
Yeah, like a month ago. And her opening monologue was a song about how to, or sorry, maybe 2 months ago. I'm losing track of time. It's a song about how to pronounce her name. It's very cute.
Yeah, it's like I just thought of it as like Sammy Sosa, but with an SH in it. You know, so Sosa.
I have to just quickly interject that the Jessica Chastain, probably one of the worst episodes of SNL I've seen in about 2 years.
Yeah,
it was last week.
She played like the same ditzy character in like 3 sketches. But anyways, back to 3 Billboards. 3 Billboards is a movie that like you could feel that Martin McDonald, he is a guy where it's like, you know, if you say, you know, your character's a real judgy, he'd fucking like take his shirt off and try to beat the shit out of you in an alley. Like his movie is just very, like his voice is very much like, yeah, you got a problem with my film, so fuck what? Yeah. He's like Quentin Tarantino without all the lofty, long, unnecessary monologues, you know. And I'll
make one point about Frances McDormand in your purview there, that she definitely is following the director's lead on this.
Oh,
she is trying to be the hard-assiest person in the world.
Yeah.
And yet, when she does that, it starts to become false.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
You know,
it's more of a caricature.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely.
I think she'll win a second Oscar for this.
Oy.
And the thing is, like, think of a movie that looks at a small town that she was also in, like Fargo. That, you know, sure, there's like some caricature elements of there, but there's still an element of complexity and love to those characters where they're not just as dumb as they seem, except for maybe William H. Macy's character. You know, where in this one, it just relishes with someone who's not from the United States. You know, just saying this is what's wrong with you guys. You know,
because it's a good comparison. Because there's a guy, the Coen brothers took life in a kind of middle class, working class city and created these desperations associated with it. But in this film, the desperations are so broad, right? A punchline. They're so broad that it doesn't resonate.
Yeah, it was an insulting punchline, like Luke throwing the fucking lightsaber over his head.
We can go on, but I think we can move on.
Yes,
let's get to another film.
I think so. But I will say one thing outside of this, outside of all the stuff that I said about 3 Billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri, outside of Ebbing, Missouri, I did actually like it though.
Good.
I did like the film because it is so unapologetically aggressive that there is an element to it that is very gratifying to see. Okay. So on that level, you know, if you like gritty sort of Tarantino films, this is Tarantino, just without the monologues.
All right, that's a great selling point. I gotta check that out then.
Yeah.
We can move on.
Now, who's the moderator again? No, I just kidding. All right.
You'll probably agree.
I'm just looking ahead. It's 2 o'clock.
He's like, oh, fuck, I'm out of notes. Let's talk about Dunkirk. Did you guys all see Dunkirk?
Yes,
Why did it get nominated for like best sound editing? I couldn't understand a fucking word anybody was saying in that whole picture.
I saw the movie once at a press screening, and I was kind of blown away, except when I came out, I was commiserating with the other critics. I'm like, was there something wrong with the audio in our theater, or is it just Nolan doing his brain thing again? Because, you know, I can't understand anything Tom Hardy was saying.
Yeah.
The only people I could really make out were Mark Rylance and... why can't I think of his name? I want to call him Cecil. That's not right. Scarecrow.
Oh, Cillian Murphy?
Cillian Murphy. Cecil. What's wrong with me? But
that's about as nerdy as you're going to get.
But they're on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and there was nothing exploding around them, so maybe I was meant to understand them a bit more. But that was a big mark off.
This is the whole sound mixing in the film. I'm going to pull the microphone away so you won't hear it. That's the whole sound mixing of the film.
You know, it bothered me too, but I just felt like this is a film that dialogue doesn't matter, you know, and
It should matter.
well, I mean, it should.
Hashtag George Lucas.
But it should matter. Hashtag George Lucas. Jesus. But you know, I love the operatic nature of it.
Yeah.
That it had a soundtrack that was kind of flowing with the story, and it was like, you know, you're just kind of like drawn in, and the rhythm is happening, and it comes to this huge crescendo, and then he goes home, and life is supposed to be normal again, you know,
Yeah.
and so it was in my top 10.
It definitely ended with Nolan's montage ending. He loves the montage ending, and they work wonderfully.
Yeah,
I wish there was a montage ending with The Shape of Water, but that was what I was wishing for. I'm sorry. It's a good trick.
No, I got it.
You know, it's a good trick, fucking prestige. But the Dunkirk, I liked it because here's the thing: I like the movie. Like, I'll talk about the pros and the cons. So the pros are, I haven't seen a war film that doesn't have to rely on grisly violence.
Yeah.
There you
That makes you feel the absolute tension and horror of being stuck in a situation.
Well, how
you can't
about
escape from.
when the whole container fills with water in like a
Exactly.
second?
Yeah.
That's just like, what?
And
You
the
know?
camera's always just like constantly
alert.
going. Nolan is a fucking master editor. He knows how to smoothly like transition between shots, which like movement on a cut to go to, and and that works beautifully with that. When you intercut between each of these plot lines, they're done so seamlessly, and you mix that with Hans Zimmer's Shepherd tone, where the music's constantly having that wah, wah sort of effect to it. It makes you feel like you just can't get out of there. And then when it finally does fall through, it's sort of, you know, that's your big crescendo moment. And that it worked. I think it would have worked wonderfully as a short film instead of a feature film. But even so, even as a feature film, it's thrilling to see.
All right,
And
you're in between here, brother.
But the cons are the characters are really flat, you know, and they're forgettable, and they're not like if you want to use stock characters, do something like you did with Saving Private Ryan. When that medic died, I remember seeing that with my grandmother, and she was bawling seeing that scene. What's the name of the Giovanni Ribisi? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Ribisi. Yeah, when he's died, that's like
feel
one of the
so
most
bad,
hard-hitting scenes. You don't get something like that in Dunkirk. The
Interesting.
closest you get is when that one kid like gets injured on the boat. Yeah.
Well, I'll say, and just quickly about Saving Private Ryan, that's an interesting comparison because they're two different kind of tones.
Very, yeah.
Tones. But go ahead. I'm interested in what you're saying here, Ryan. Or, Ian. Ian Ryan.
I'll be Ryan. No, I think it's weird. Dunkirk came close to being, you know, one of my top films of the year, except for the kind of the rewatchability factor. I feel like I may never watch this movie again because I'm never going to, unless it comes to like the music box, just kind of a revival. I feel like this is something where you need to see it in a theater with surround sound, believe it or not, and just on the biggest screen possible and be immersed in it. Because the kind of still that's from this movie is, you know, the publicity material is the scene of the bridge where everyone's kind of crowded onto this bridge and they're looking up. And that's when they're about to be, they think they're going to be dive bombed by these planes, and it's horrifying. And that's what, that's one of the things that is so, the subjective terror of this movie is its strongest selling point. I don't know that that's going to be replicated, certainly not on my phone, but even on like my 42-inch TV or whatever.
Right.
Small, I got to get into new TV. But yeah, you don't remember any of the characters. We're referring to people as Cillian Murphy or Cecil. Or Tom Hardy. So I think that it speaks more to the fact that this is a movie that is about set pieces and tension and not so much characters.
Do you think Tom Hardy's just like, how many times do I have to be in a Christopher Nolan film where I don't have to put a fucking mask on my face? You know?
Well, I like Hardy's the last scene where he's kind of blazing on the beach.
Yeah.
And has to land that sucker.
Yeah.
Oh, that beautiful
You know, that-
plane on
yeah,
fire.
And everyone's cheering for him, and then they capture him, but
yeah.
he goes out as a Nolan.
Yeah,
Man. He had the most arc.
Yeah.
You know, and he had the least dialogue too. So
There you
you know,
go.
and that was kind of the thing. So
right.
now we're gonna move on to the post. What do you guys think of the post? Who wants
You
to
didn't
go?
see it, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, here we go with the post. I thought that it surprised me. Okay, it surprised me for two reasons. Number one, Meryl Streep. When the preview came up, Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep playing vague characters. It's almost like an SCTV review. If I can go back, or it seemed like a satire.
Yeah.
It's directed by, who else could direct them but Steven Spielberg?
It has to be Spielberg.
Or his Mexican equivalent, Senor
Senior Spielberg. That's one of my favorite episodes of Simpsons.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
I cry.
So the post, you come into the post already feeling that. And then Streep blows you away by her characterization of Katharine Graham. The story is a procedural. Spielberg puts the accelerator on the story rather than the characters.
Yeah.
It's an ensemble cast. They deliver it beautifully. It wasn't in my top 10 or anything, but it did emerge as something that I really enjoyed because it was something of my era, number one, but also I thought that reporters in retrospect a little too heroic for my taste. But that's my 5 cents on that one.
It separated itself from most movies about journalism, which I really liked.
Oh, cool.
The dynamic wasn't about the shock of the story. Oh my God, the priests are pedophiles. Oh my God,
Right.
The
What are you referring to?
Yeah, the president broke into Watergate, which is so cool how they did the ending.
Yeah, very cool. I think he used the same shot from All the President's Men. I'm almost positive.
He did. Yeah.
He did that cross the street shot.
Yeah. And it was so cool because it literally felt like the Batman Begins Joker ending of journalism movie endings.
Right.
And it was just.
It's true.
Yeah, it was literally
and
that.
And then watch All the President's Men. You got a great double feature.
Exactly. Like and
Rogue One into A New Hope.
Fuck Rogue One. I'm a huge. Right?
That was a high. Oh, we are on there. I'm so used to doing podcasts. That was a high five. Hilarious.
It ended like a cool thriller, and because this was a movie about journalism, so many movies about journalism, kind of like have a flat white because it's like paper color palette to it. But here you got Lucas, who's got Yamish Kaminsky's eyes, and they're always flying around the subjects. There's that wonderful scene where the whole house is just filled with articles, about the Vietnam War, and he got the little girl with the lemonade, which is a wonderful touch.
Those were the things that really surprised me in a Spielbergian sense, or Spielbergo sense. He really went for something different. And he really applied himself in a different way and created something that I think will last for, people will be watching this a generation from now to get an indication of what people were thinking a generation after it happened.
Yeah.
So, back and forth. Oh, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to get more into it.
We can move on again since he didn't see it.
I didn't see the post. I did watch Mark Felt, though. Did you see that with Liam Neeson as Deep Throat?
It looked terrible.
It's really good.
Oh, shit.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm just going to say, Neeson is one of those guys, he gets caught up in the Taken movies and the Commuter stuff where he just has to show up and even barely that. And every once in a while he gets a chance to remind people of why he's Liam Neeson. Yeah. I think Silence the year before was that chance. And then in this movie, Mark Felt, it's a sad, noble performance.
Yeah, it is. And I think it was a longer movie. Don't you feel like there was some sort of choppiness at the end? That created
very possibly, and I would watch the extended version. Yeah,
I would too
if there was one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the post. I'll just say on one note. I was glad that the drama. I already said it. Never mind. Fuck it. All right, and then our surprise Oscar nominee this year, or maybe it wasn't a surprise because we had the Dream Team, which maybe was my favorite nominee, was Phantom Thread. Which I can't, but it was such a surprise because Phantom Menace came out in 1999. I don't know, but That movie was.
I want to see that. I was
thread. Thinking that was you know, that might have been a real shot across that bow of that movie when you say that.
But no, it was yeah, I liked it. So I mean, Phantom Thread, yeah, it's I never thought I'd be into a film about a guy who, this must be science fiction because it's about a heterosexual man who makes dresses. You know.
I think the jury's still out.
Yeah,
quite
I mean,
frankly, if you see that film.
I made me want to make a dress. But
you know, the thing is, here's my problem. I focus more on story, and this is maybe another one I have to see again. But I just could not get into that relationship. I think I've seen too many relationships like that, and I just don't like when a couple starts playing psychological games against each other, and then they start competing, and that's exactly what happened. And yet I could see the beauty of it. It was flat for me because of the story.
Right.
That's my summation.
Right.
I don't need to go on.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I think with I liked it because it was sort of like The Master, where it was
elements of that. Yes.
Yeah, like that. Like there's a repetition to it, but there's also more of a conventional structure to the film, and I did kind of like how the reason you hated it. There was the reason I really liked it. Well, which is, and again, it's a different film for everyone. Which is, it really
is. That's for sure.
Yeah, it goes into the complicities and the nuances of being in a relationship, where everyone's sort of little idiosyncrasies will drive you insane.
Right.
You know, when you live with someone, like just the littlest thing from when you're at breakfast. I know when I'm editing footage or when I'm writing, maybe when you're writing, maybe like when you're editing your podcast. If someone's just in the same room and they just like put a glass down like that, it's just like. You know?
That's why I get up at 3:30 in the morning, sir. I can't deal with that. I have to make sure no one's awake.
And yeah, you get that. And then I love the fact now by the time you get into the third act, this is when it goes from a traditional period piece that is so, oh my God, Johnny Greenwood's score. I was listening to
it was magnificent.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's one thing that could beat the Dunkirk score, it's this score.
It better.
It should.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, Hans already has his Oscar for Gladiator.
That's true.
And
if this is a first-time guy, he's going to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing, when you get to that third act, it becomes a P.T. Anderson film. And either you're going to be on board with it or you're not. Because have you seen it?
Here's the thing. No, I have not. And I didn't rush out to see it because I was not a fan of Inherent Vice and I was not a fan of The Master at all.
See, that's two recommendations you were correct on.
Well, here's the thing. When you say
I love The Master,
I love The Master, but Inherent Vice, I think this was PT's sort of. He had to get Inherent Vice out of his system, but yeah.
Go ahead.
But when you say a P.T. Anderson film, to me that means two different things. Yeah. There's like pre-The Master, pre-Inherent Vice, where he's kind of doing this Terrence Malick redo kind of a deal, whereas his earlier stuff, I used to be a really big Paul Thomas Anderson fan, and now it's really kind of a gamble. Like, I don't know if I want to get off the couch to go see this, but, you know.
That's what I love about him. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If it goes south, you're there for 3 hours.
You're just describing my experience at Phantom Thread.
Exactly. So. Well, yeah, I mean, I was into it, but I can definitely see why people wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And it's a film that I think that's what makes a great film. Like, you could be split on it. Case in point, Mother. Either people are going to think you're the best picture of the year, or you're going to be a Razzie. Yeah. So moving
how we did.
on.
Yeah. We got, what, about 8 minutes for...
how many movies do we have left?
2.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
We're in good shape.
Yeah.
8 minutes.
I got this, man. I'm used to tight call times. All right. You guys got to help me with this one. Did you guys see Call Me By Your Name?
Yes, I did.
Why does everybody love this film? I know I'm wrong.
Okay.
I know I'm objectively wrong with it. Please tell me why.
I don't think you're objectively wrong.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of this movie. I'm a fan of it up to a certain point.
Yeah.
But I really want to get Pat's read on this before I just start like
tearing
things apart again.
Please,
I just feel like
start with it.
I watched this film with my wife.
Yeah.
At home, where you have the privilege of getting
Don't bring your kids to that film.
Heterosexual splaining.
Sorry. Heterosplaining. I like that. No, but how do you know my wife's? No. Anyway, so we were watching it.
It's a marriage of convenience.
Loved the night. Sorry. Well, very inconvenient for her, I'm sure. But no, we're watching the movie and we're into it. The 1983, the setting in Italy, it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
digging the cast.
It loves talking about how gorgeous it was, showing. Look at the gorgeous shots. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it.
And I appreciate a nice immersive film, but here's the weird, prudish, almost meta concern that I have with it. I missed the part where they say how old Timothée Chalamet's character is. I think he is 17, and at some point people have told me they say he's 17, but I missed it. And I'm like, there's such a physical-looking age difference between his character and Armie Hammer that I'm like, is it okay that they're doing this?
Yeah.
And then when they get into their relationship, I guess that was sort of the point or the style of the film to show how clumsy lovemaking can be between two people or the relationship. My wife and I, I'm sorry, we were laughing at parts of it, and we felt kind of bad. We're like, this isn't supposed to be funny, but... so the movie left me cold, and I know it's getting a lot of praise, and I know the film I'm about to reference did not get a lot of praise, but I felt that the same themes were executed much more efficiently with, I think, a longer runtime. And Blue is the Warmest Color from a few years ago.
Yeah. Wow,
it's the exact same film.
That's really.
Except
Paris.
Blue
is the Warmest Color had conflict.
I think I slightly liked it a little better than you. I did love the scene with Michael Stolberg where he
that was a great scene.
He creates a safe space for his son. And I did like the fact, too, that he eventually did get engaged because it was a time where people were on the down low still. A lot of guys in my generation remained closeted, got married, had kids, and then, when everything loosened up, they got divorced and lived with their, down low lover. But I didn't buy Hammer as much as that character, and Timothy just had to be, the innocent. So he was able to handle that fairly well.
I thought he was much better in Lady Bird, honestly.
Interesting. Oh yeah, he was great in Lady Bird. He was great in Lady Bird. But I will, and he was in every independent film this year. It was a year of Timothy. What's his last name?
Chalamet.
Shamalama Ding Dong. So.
Should know this.
But anyway, I liked it a little better. Army started to bother me. I liked the ending. It did sag in the front. It sagged in the front.
Yeah.
There is a lot of just extemporaneous BS in this movie. And I mean a good run through the editing machine probably would have made it a little more
I think
tighter,
so. I think that's
what no pun intended.
I think that was the problem with me with this film. That was the problem with me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, calm down. But that was
I didn't say anything. I just made the joke. I'm moving on.
But
I'm having a sip of my beer.
It felt like it was a movie that was sort of on repetition.
Okay. I agree.
Where it is like, we get it. Italy's beautiful. This movie's kind of like cinephile bait too.
It is.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Like, I think that's why everybody loves it. Like, oh, look, it's so beautiful. You don't understand. But I just felt like it's great that this is a film where age isn't a boundary. And then I'm talking like on Woody Allen level. Okay. I'm just talking about on just normal, like, Italy level here. And
Italy level, I like that.
You do not question Luca Guadagnino.
Exactly. But when you get past sort of like how it's sort of this loving representation of acceptance and everything, my first note on the film when I was taking them was, this is Donald Trump's worst nightmare. I
don't know if he's homophobic in that way.
But who knows? Then we'll go
He's homophobic politically, not.
I would say Ted Haggard, but
maybe.
But
I think
the movie was an extended poem. You know, and I felt like where the ending was beautiful, I wish that was sort of the film, because I felt like there needed to be some sort of conflict. Not, oh my God, he's this young, how could you do that sort of conflict? But more of like, he's in love, but now Armie Hammer's with this woman, and he has to accept the fact that he was just sort of this part of his life. And I wish that was more of the film rather than these two wistfully loving each other. And that's a movie you have to see. I want to see it again to understand it.
I need to see that again too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and then
Finally,
last film and least is The Darkest Hour, where I liked it. It was pure Oscar bait.
It was Oscar bait.
Yeah. And I don't know, it was exactly what I expected when I walked in. You know, Gary Oldman, of course, is fantastic. I did get a little distracted by the makeup. It looked like an actor in makeup. But Gary Oldman made it work for what it was. You did understand sort of the struggle that Churchill went through with Neville Chamberlain stepping down, and then Churchill having to take sort of the field with it. It plays all the familiar beats. It's about a leader facing self-doubt. There's rousing speeches. I'm reading this straight off my phone. Yes, I am. There's old man in makeup and fat suits. You know, there's prestigious Englishmen. This is the King's Speech of this year. You know, there's the wife who's our protagonist, sort of rock. And then there's a closing, what happens to everybody afterwards in the title. And, of course, our protagonist is proven correct and is victorious.
Whenever I think of the King's Speech, I think of that scene.
I just want to see.
I can only do it one shit at a time.
I just want to see the movie called Prestigious Englishman. That's my biggest takeaway.
I think I'm gonna make a mock trailer to that.
This was a weird one for me because I thought it had some really good scenes in it, but overall it was like you said, it was the prestigious British film.
Yeah.
The scene in the tube is the whole movie for me.
Yeah.
You know, when it was almost a fantasy sequence where, you know, Churchill is going to ride the tube to his greatest speech, and he's going to, you know, mix with a diverse British crowd. You know, it was like, you know, it was almost like a fantasy sequence.
Yeah.
But I happened to see the movie Churchill earlier in the year with Brian Cox. And to me, that was the more interesting story.
Yeah.
What is wild about Darkest Hour is that you can put Dunkirk, the movie, you can make a distinct
the super cut.
You can do the whole thing as a mini series or whatever you want to call it, or as a mega.
I told me it was way better than all of Dunkirk. Sorry.
Well, no. I mean, I'm just saying you can cut that movie into this film.
Yeah.
And that was what was remarkable about it. There's so many trends this year, and you know we could talk about that, but that's just it. The movie Churchill was a better story to me. In comparison, The Darkest Hour didn't work as much, but I loved Oldman in it, and I loved the tube scene. That's it.
And I didn't see Darkest Hour or Churchill.
Oh.
So here's the thing. I'm a big fan of Atonement as well. I was kind of jazzed about it, but I just kind of missed the screening. But honestly, this is something where I did see the previews at some movie. I saw back-to-back trailers for The Darkest Hour, and then All the Money in the World with the spacey version.
Old man makeup.
And I just thought, my God, this is just the year of Oscar bait with horrendous old man makeup. and thank God we dodged the bullet with Plummer on that the second movie. But the first one,
no makeup.
I remember when I saw J. Edgar.
Genuinely an old fart.
Dude, when I saw J. Edgar, like the first thing that popped in my head when he was in the old makeup was Jackass Part 2, when they put Johnny Knoxville in the old man makeup. I'm like, oh my God.
Prequel to Bad Grandpa.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, but I mean, this has nothing to do with the movie, but watching, I had this feeling where I'm like, okay, I love this guy's other films, and I love Gary Oldman. I don't know if I can get past this.
Yeah.
Because I saw this weird Stadler and Waldorf thing. I saw the waddle in Churchill Oldman's neck. It reminded me of the ball sack prosthetic on Hugh Jackman from movie 43.
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I supposed to take this seriously? So I'll find out another time.
But yeah, I mean, you do get the conflict that Churchill's going through, and it's a crowd pleaser. I'd say that. It's a movie you can take your grandma to. And
You
she'd
know, it's
like it a lot.
interesting you mentioned that. If you ever see
The ball sack prostate?
yes,
Sorry.
because if you ever see Citizen Kane like a real high definition,
Ooh,
you can
like a
see the
4K.
makeup separation.
That's
you
one of the
know?
reasons I've stayed away from it. I love that movie, but I'm
yeah.
afraid of like how.
But if you watch any old 40s film where they make somebody older, you can see the lines.
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
you can see the strings when they fly Peter Pan.
Yeah, that's the problem with 4K restoration. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I think on that note, I think that's about it. Is there a movie you guys want to see win this year?
Oh,
No.
Shape of Water.
You know, I think as I was
Shape of
talking
Water.
about,
I don't think it's going to win, but I would love it to win. And it's to me it's wide open because
Yeah.
I don't know if the Academy is going to jazz about 3 Billboards because that's what's been winning so far.
yeah, I
So-
think it's not going to win in the end. I think in the end because politics plays a role in everything, but in a good way with the Academy. I think we're gonna get swept under the rug, and Lady Bird's gonna get it. Yeah,
You know,
That
honestly,
is
I
a
would.
bold prediction,
Yeah.
sir.
Well, I was gonna say I'm not really invested in the pictures this year because I can't say, oh, I'm really rooting for this movie or I hope
Yeah.
this other movie fails. But
all
Lady
mine
Bird,
is in the technical categories. My favorite picture of the year wasn't even nominated.
Which
which-
was?
Blade Runner 2049.
oh, I thought you were gonna say Last Jedi. No,
No.
Rogue One.
but
Here's Last Jedi.
no, but I mean, I would be happy if Lady Bird won. I think it was a great achievement.
I would be
love what
ecstatic
if
Lady Bird
Greta
wins.
Gerwig
Yeah.
did win.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's a tough field this year as far as calling it.
Yeah.
You know, I was we had been you mentioned maybe talking about Oscar moments. Just quickly, I'm
Yeah.
going to say that the internet era has spoiled Oscar predictions. You know,
Yeah.
because we go into the Oscars after all the other awards are done, and everybody's sort of like, oh well, Gary Oldman's going to win, or you know that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And you know that's what I miss about the old timey Oscars, that you really didn't know, you know, and there was no real press about it, you know.
You'd
It's
have to
just-
get the newspaper and a highlighter
well,
to
yeah, a
remember all the
newspaper and a highlighter, and
nominees.
you'd have to get several newspapers, and there wasn't available online, so you had to go to like a urban newsstand to pick up the Times and the Los Angeles Times and,
Yeah.
and the Reader.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't know. I would love. I just want to see Lady Bird win, for my own political reasons, and also because
Well, is that a should win or will win?
I think should and possibly
my
will.
Shape of Water is
Possibly
should, too.
will. Yeah, I don't know. Which
I gotta let some time go by to see what the.
you gotta digest
yeah,
it.
Yeah,
You know, you gotta let it digest. Like with any film, like a lot of times I'll be
but
done.
I would have to say the front runner right now is 3 Billboards.
Yeah.
I think that's probably fair to say, having not seen it, but you know,
Okay.
seen
And
the
I
press
think
around
3
it.
Billboards is the exemplification where there's too much testosterone in Hollywood and we need more female voices.
Well, it's a female lead.
Yeah. But she's got balls in it.
Well, I'll tell you.
Which, you know, balls are very
mentioned-
fragile, by the way.
As evidenced in
you
Call Me
make
by
a
Your
good
Name.
point, because if the Academy is trying to be PC, they're
Yeah.
going to go for Greta, because you know what a symbolic shot across
Yeah.
the bow if they make Greta Gerwig film the best picture.
And I will say, though, on the other end of that
That's a good-
spectrum,
Ooh.
I will.
What
I
is
know
on
we
the
have our
other end?
first ever female DP nominated. I don't know her
Yeah.
name at the top of my head because I don't have
Well,
my notes.
no, I have it right here. It is. They don't have the name.
Yeah.
They just have cinematography. It's the woman who lends Mudbound.
Yes, I will be.
Beautiful picture,
I will
by the
be
way.
mad if Roger Deakins loses.
I think that's a lock.
I will
baby. Put
flip
a lock,
my table.
Take out the key. Throw the key in
Good.
Lake Michigan.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much, Pat McDonald.
I want to see that scene.
Thank you, Ian
Simmons.
Simmons. It was
Okay.
Simmons. I was gonna say
Hey,
Simmons. but I didn't.
call me by my name.
Oh!
Sorry.
All right. Who's got a peach? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so
All
much.
right.
And that's a wrap. We'll see you at the Oscars.
Really? We're going?